We are developing a new concept of single-family homes that is making a minimal footprint in the environment, and both in terms of energy consumption and material usage. We call it Circuitus. It's Latin and stands for cycle, and we say we are circular life with nature, or if you want, in tune with harmonies of nature. Everyone should be feeling well. We are a team working with this, and you know these two guys here, Simone Kreutzer and Tommy Westlund. They designed the famous circular house in Växjö a few years ago, you may know about. We take a departure from that and breaking new grounds in a new concept doing this. And this guy stands over here, Krists Slokenbergs. He's really a philosopher in technical solutions. Now you'll understand why in a moment when he presents. He's also a specialist in passivhus windows, and he runs the I2 factory in Latvia and Riga. And specialist also in wood, which is very good because this is a wood structure we're presenting. We say only if we manage to build energy efficient houses that everyone wants and everyone can afford, we can reduce the climate impact. And that's very important for us. Because if you're looking at we're looking at the wider market reaching the average client, and not everyone is focusing on energy efficiency. So it's also important to combine it with a good design and an attractive price, so we get the whole. So that means that if we're lucky, we can get some people just buying the house just because it's a nice house, and we get the climate aspects on the buy. We need to work very smart because we need to have a low cost, and space efficiency is very important. It's almost like a sailboat. All areas has to be used for more than one function if it's really good. The houses should be easy to assemble, disassemble, and we work with the idea of the flat package system. So you can deliver the house with 2 containers perhaps, and that's also a way of efficient. And we don't need any cranes or machines on site. We work manually most of the things. And we make a big contribution, better life for anywhere else. Because it's about low consumption in energy and also the materials we use. And accommodation that everyone can afford. What is the essence of a house for everyone? And I think people in general associate a home with a house with a pitched roof. So that's an archetype that we've been using as a base for the project. And it's also a type that is used in most detailed plans in Sweden, so it's easy to fit in many places. We wanted to have a modern sensation, timeless, stylish and simple, a good feeling about it. Sustainability for us, cost is an important aspect in terms of we want to produce these things and get out into the market. Also, the human being is in focus in terms of you should be able to live a normal life with a high quality and good comfort. And at the same time as you do that, you make a minimal footprint in your way of living in the house. Best way of putting them, or our goal is to have them in groups of maybe 16 or 20 units. In that case, you get a good economy. You can share ecological systems. Specifically, if you are in the countryside, you can use a wastewater system. You can also use energy systems that is shared, which is better economy. Also, instead of using where everyone has their individual plot, you can save land by putting them in communities like this. You can have your private spaces and your common green spaces around. Mindset is very important, in tune with nature. You use only natural materials, wood, stone, glass and things like that, but use it carefully, not more than you need. And also think about the greenery, bring the green to the buildings. And And if you make them in communities, you can design for active lifestyle by adding form pressures in the surroundings, so you can make people move, motivate local cultivation. It's also good for the environment. Work with ecological system I mentioned before. Water is something that is perhaps it's quite easy now in Sweden, but in the future it may not be. And we need to think about water and using it, reusing the rainwater and wastewater treatment. Work with the sun. As a passive house designer, we always thinking about the sunlight and how we locate them, but also naturally we have to work with the developing industry of the sunscreens, and you can integrate them very nicely in the roof. Like that, yeah. This is our principal program. Simple units. We have the base units. We call them numbers 79, 55, 96. And that's the living area on the ground, so they're very small. But still, it's important that you can live in the house and get older, so you can live in the ground floor. And then you have lofts on the top, that is bonuses. So from the base unit, we can reduce it a bit. We have one smaller too, and you can extend them, and you have alternatives for the 96. I'll get back to that in a moment. The materiality is wood all through, and we want to have no chemicals, natural if possible, or thermal treated wood. And also, wood is essential material. You can work with it in rough, and you can work with it, you can like smooth surfaces where you're close to it, and give qualities in a simple ways in terms of bringing architecture into the spaces. Paints are also possible in some areas if they're environmental friendly. Also, the entire interior is in wood, so we don't use any gypsum, no plastics, and we have a glue lamp system. We'll show you that is you see the structure visually from the inside. White pigmented wood. This is our base unit then, and it's consistent of two spaces, one that's up to the ridge, and it's a space that's quite voluminous. Since we have a small floor area, it's good to have sensation that the house is actually bigger than it is. And then we have a two-story unit here with a sleeping room and a bathroom. And on the long sides, there are two wooden decks. We have a series of complementary units you can add, I'll show you in a moment, to make personalize the house. The key to make this passive house are a number of things. The displacement of structure is very important. We take it to the very inside, and we have a mixture of glue lamp and glue lamp panel. We don't need structure of wood more than we actually need, just not like CLT where you have wood all over, minimum amount. And this system is plywood, we call them I-beams to connect to the facade, which makes it totally thermal bridge free around the whole building. We also have thermal bridge free fittings for windows and doors. The red line is the air tightness layer. You can see around here. We have a specific truss that gives us freedom under the plan here, so we don't need any cords. This is only floor hanging, so it doesn't belong to the structure in itself, so we have a freedom working with the plan. Also, this truss makes it possible to put technical installations like ventilation and electricity and things inside the airtight layer, which is outside here. And you can see the thick thermal envelope, and it's a good U value. Yeah. We work with also compact technology. We put the water systems quite close to each other, so we have the kitchen here and the bathroom, and just above here in the pitch roof here we have an FTX ventilation system. This is a view from the garden. Just give you a sense. This is an interior view from the other way around. It's a standard kitchen, but we make it nicely with a wood covering from Krists' wonderful factory. We have a bathroom system also that matches our flat package system, and FIBO is the system down here in one of the booths, so you can see them. It's a certified, actually wood, but it's certified to take control of the water. They have it on Kastrup Airport, for instance, and it's very interesting. That way we don't need any tile setters, or we don't need painters on the site either. We have complementary units. This is inspirational pictures. We're talking about bicycle storage, glass and greenhouses, saunas. And we have a program of different types that you can work around. Quite simple structure to make them alive. And if this comes into a village, it comes breaking down the scale in a way. And here you can see some of them storage here. The trellises bringing the green is a very nice aspect, we think. And here we have the garden side. Now we're going inside the skin behind and listening to great philosophy of technical solutions. Welcome, Krists. Oh.
Yeah, I believe you can hear me. My story is I was trying to find a name, and the name component, I'm a window builder. I do it more than, I don't know how, but in 8 years I make only passive house windows. And the name component for the window run very well. I really like how it sounds, because you say, I take the good components, I put them together, and have a feeling that I will have a good house. And that's kind of truth, and I have lived in that truth for a while for myself, but then I find out that there is something missing. And the thing which lead me to this idea and why I think it was necessary is the binding element. And if you take a look on the nature, you very easily see that the binding element is the same importance as the element itself. If you take a look on the water, everybody knows that 2 hydrogen atoms plus 1 oxygen atom creates water. If you take the binds off, it makes no sense. But if you come down to the element thinking, you realize that you can create the oceans. The same is with the building process in the history. It's very understandable. You take 2 atoms of bricks and 1 atom of clay or plaster, or you put it together and you can have something really wonderful. And it's very understandable. This is, by the way, Riga Dom. I suggest you to come over. Really nice town. City. But we know that this types of building we cannot actually afford anymore. I don't mean by economical sense, I mean by sustainable thinking sense. So we switched away from that, and we have created walls which are suitable. But we forgot to think about them as elements. We see them already as a clear picture, but actually it is very complicated thing, and it doesn't describe. Then you add some heavy machines, many difficulties, and it ends up that you're getting confused, and everybody don't know in the end why the result came so difficult. It is because we lost the element thinking. I need to stop a bit to speak about buildings, and I found my example in the food. When you go to the restaurant, or you are a good cook, you really care about elements. You always care what's inside. And there's so many ways how to make from the same element totally different food. But the food as element creation, it has its qualities, let's say. It must be the right condition elements. I don't know, it must be fresh, it must be... It has certain quality. Since you in Sweden eat also old fish, that can be, maybe, in my opinion, changes a bit, but a certain quality. You need it in the right proportions. Too much salt, too much of something, and everything is spoiled. You need that reasonable size. You must not eat too much or if it's too tiny, which happens also in Sweden in a very good restaurants, reasonable size. And locally grown, it's a wonderful way of thinking. I like to buy the food which is locally grown. And then if I think about the structure of the house, I find out that there's one basic material which really fits in that. It's called wood. And if I take a look on what are the qualities, these were the qualities of the food, and what are the qualities of the wood? It must be the right condition, right quality, right proportions, reasonable size, locally grown. Wonderful. We take a wood as our best material, which really works. And to make it not like just, let's say, something, we need to translate these words. And the condition, in my eyes, which I found out you can see that in the window building, means it easily connects to the next elements. That's the component thing. You take the window and say, that's my wonderful component. And there's a wonderful component wall, and nobody speaks how you really connect them. Oh, you drevnings and tapings and so much work involved. Unbelievable amount of work. Quality. Why you need to hide the wood? Why you need to work more? Wood is a wonderful material. You look on that. It's a great material. Don't hide it. Right proportions. You need it only as much as it needed, not too much. Reasonable size. Why cranes? My 5-year-old boy could build a house in that height in just a few hours. Why a big man in the teams of tens are building just a simple house a year using cranes? Reasonable size where 2 men can live can create amazing structures. Locally grown, I would like to translate that word to sustainable. This is the same idea what I see in the food comes to the idea of using wood. And so this is the product, not the product, but let's say the basic element which we find out, which is glulam. This is the wood piece, which is that heavy that 2 men can easily lift it. It easily connects to the next elements. And important thing is wood can be too much. Wood can be not okay. Sometimes it's really too much. So you need to think how you use it. And our idea is hidden behind that you try to use it only when it's really needed. In the case when it's not needed, you substitute with a material which is more suitable, which is again insulation made from wood fibers, for instance. So this is a glulam separation, which creates the wall construction, which looks approximately like that. And glue lamps are with a step of every 60 centimeters, which totally can take the bearing of the house. But in between them, we have an insulation which is covered by glue lamp, which looks totally the same. So you actually can't tell what is behind. The same actually is like here. It's very hard to distinguish. You can actually hear, but very often it's hard to distinguish what is actually bearing the construction. So if we compare that, I like CLT. So the best project or the biggest project we had with the windows was in Knivsta, which is thick, which is huge, amazing thick CLT house, and I really like CLT. But if we compare our system to the CLT, the switching away from CLT it didn't connect well to the next materials. It did require cranes, and actually it's used too much. It is really significantly much more wood used in the structure, which you cannot lift. It's not reasonable. If we compare even in the U values, our wall is slightly better in U values by using almost 9 cubic meters of the wood less. So that's the basic structure of our house, and I just I would like to quickly show you some scenes, how it's built. So every panel, which you see with the hind, is ready to connect its upcoming I-beam. It's well made to connect the floor. It's made already to connect the roof. We have thought about every next connection detail which might have. They're all numbered in beams or are precisely done. And that's approximately how it looks. Even the trusses, actually. The weight of trusses is about 42 kilograms, I think. And that means even the trusses of the house can be lifted by 2 men. Okay, 2 kilos more for Sweden laws, but actually it's very doable. So the window insertion idea came from automotive industry. If you ask yourself, where is the door frame for the car doors? The answer is we cannot really tell because it's the structure of the car. It's that simple. Slim lines of the windows, that's really, really possible. You just need to integrate them. These components must be connected, and you can do it when you see them in elements. This is from first prototype house in Latvia. So we have a floor slab, which is prepared with the connection points to the ground already for the future doors. It's not just a flat concrete, it includes everything. And don't mean here just the pipes, I mean connection of the doors specifically and balcony doors, which is a very big issue. The structure goes up by the manual force, covers with the trusses, I-beams, very special way of putting I-beams.
You can see them in the booth.
Yeah, you can see them in a booth. And this is, energy class A plus in all areas. Kalmar is all area, if I understand correctly. Marcus, am I right?
Yes. We have certified the components of the house. So if to certify the passive house, you have to have it located somewhere. And we've actually calculated this in Kalmar and have the values to be a passive house, which is quite impressive for the size of the house, I think. So, here is the certificate, and I guess that's the end, I think. Yes.
Okay, thank you.